Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Alan Weisberg, and let's dive in with Aadila Dosani. You've seen her on Nancy Drew, you've seen her on Supernatural, you've seen her on Supergirl, you've seen her on All Things Super because she is super. So let's get to know my guest. Welcome to the program, Aadila.
Thank you so much for having me, and I will take that. No one's ever said I'm super, so thank you very much.
I'm very sorry that you haven't heard that,
I know.
but you should, and now it's on tape, and now it's available forever online. So there you go.
Perfect.
Perfect. So for people who are not as familiar with you as I am,
Mhm.
let's take a minute and please let them know who you are and how you got to where you are right now.
Oh man. Well, I am. So I never know how to answer these questions, so like I'll just ramble, and I guess you guys will have to listen. Cool.
Perfect. Yeah.
I am, I guess, an actor. I don't know. I'm a human. Sometimes I don't even know what I am from a small town, Calgary, Alberta, in Canada. Do you guys hear those sirens, by the way?
We do. Yeah.
I'm so sorry about that. This is what happens when you live in the city. This is the story of my life. Wake up to them, go to bed to them. I mean, it's
And
fine.
we'll pause for a second because I used to live in downtown Chicago. I'm in Chicago.
Okay.
Now I'm in the suburbs, but we used to live in downtown, my wife and I. And the first kind of week and a half, we just couldn't have the windows open because it was ridiculous. And then you get used to it so much
Yeah.
that it's like my cousin Vinny. You can't go to sleep unless you hear that siren. So is
Yes,
that the same thing with you right now?
that is totally the case. Like I can't when I go visit my parents at home because they live in a little town right outside of Calgary where it's super quiet. It's like a little farm town. I get so much anxiety because I don't hear the people on the streets or the arena or the sirens. Yeah, you are absolutely on the money on that. It is wild that it becomes your white noise. Yeah, it's like meditation for me, that's like, I probably need to see a therapist about that. That's like a different story, but it's fine. We can't all
Sure.
be
So,
perfect.
my apologies for interrupting. So you're in Calgary. You're an actress, but really you're a human being. What else?
Human being. Yeah, I guess born and raised there. And then, I feel like I always say that acting's like my only marketable skill because I really just don't know what else I would do, and I haven't really done anything else. It's funny. So I wouldn't have gotten into it unless my parents put me into it. So I used to they, like for the weekend extracurriculars, your parents put you in activities and stuff. My parents put me in like, dance, all of these sports, like swimming, skating, and I sucked. I was like the worst kid, like the kid that embarrasses their parents so that my parents always had to like buy treats every weekend so that the parents of the other kids would stay friends with them and then the kids would still like me even though I was so bad. It was I know. I can't skate. I don't know how to swim. I don't know if I should be saying this in public, but I did. I mean, maybe I can doggy paddle, but I don't know. I haven't tried it out yet.
Yeah.
Um, and so they pulled me out of everything except I can only play dry land sports. So that probably says a lot about me in that one sentence.
Mhm.
Um, and then put me into community theater, and I guess that's kind of how I got my start in all of this. I finally felt like I'd found my place, and there's this little place called Storybook Theater in Calgary where we would just put on like, you know, fun musicals like Annie or Little Shop of Horrors and all those fun little Sondheimy things. And I feel that's kind of where I got my start because I was like, oh, I can do this, and my parents aren't upset at me about it, and I'm semi okay. So like they're really happy, and they don't have to waste all this money buying cupcakes every weekend. I know it's fine. It was a sad story, and that's kind of how it all started.
So is that when you finally told your parents, "Hey, this is what I want to do"? Did they come back to you and say, "Oh, well, we actually meant for you to have a career, and then you have, but you put me in this. This
It,
is on you, people."
it is on them. It's
Yeah.
true. And they did. Like my parents, I got so lucky that my
Mhm.
parents just they supported me through everything and they kind of just wanted me to live the dream, which I feel like, you know, I hope
Mhm.
like all parents are like that, but like, you have friends and family. They're not. They're not, especially immigrant parents, I feel like, in South Asian descent. Yeah. Like, come to Canada, and I understand. You understand both aspects, and you understand why. They just want a better life for them and their family. But my parents were so wonderful and completely supported this. Although, I would teeter. I say like I've always wanted to be an actor, but like there was also a time, I feel like it was a year straight, where I would all again I'm like the embarrassment child. We would have to go to dinner parties at, family friends' houses and stuff, and they'd be like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I'm like, "I want to be a lawyer for the mafia." Like, what? I was obsessed with The Godfather at like 8 years old. I don't understand why I thought that would be what I wanted to do. Like, thinking about it now and looking in hindsight, what like a bad thing to say.
Hilarious. What do you mean? It's
Yeah,
not embarrassment. I thought that this would be a completely perfect thing for your parents to have a start off point.
yeah,
Okay, now that my daughter said this, now we can have a really great time and talk about things.
totally.
So, yeah,
That, or
that's
they were just like, uh, what did you just say? Because what 8-year-old says that? I'm gonna be a lawyer for the Italian mob. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. They shouldn't have let me watch Godfather. Is their fault again?
Yeah. So they let you watch Godfather when you were 7 or 8 years old?
I mean, I'm pretty sure they didn't let me. I would just, in our house, we had a railing. And so I would like sneak out of my room while they were watching all of these amazing films and kind of just sit there and be like, yes, this is it. Yeah, you got to break some rules sometimes. I feel
Absolutely.
like, what's life without that?
So is that how the horror kind of movies terrified you because you watched them as a kid? Because
I watched
I
them as
had that I had that with Jaws. I should not have watched Jaws, and
oh,
now I don't ever want to go anywhere where I can see a shark unless it's behind a glass.
that's fair. Jaws, hey, that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I knew I'd never be on a body of water because I can't swim, so I was like, the sharks are okay. They'll stay in their place. I'll stay on dry land in my place. It's fine.
Okay. Got it. That works. Unless you
Yeah.
go to Arizona or somewhere else where you have spiders and snakes and all sorts of things. Yeah.
No snakes.
California
No
better.
reptiles. I don't know. I don't know. I just want like cute little puppies and kittens, and I'm just gonna say that I'm basic like that, and I'm okay with it.
Me too. Me too. A lot of my friends love Florida. They want to move to Florida, and I'm like, no, there's no way I'm ever. I'm
Yeah.
happy to go to Florida and party in Miami. I'm happy to take my kids to Disney World, but
Yeah.
no, I'm not going to Florida. I'm not living there. There's not gonna happen. No.
No, no, absolutely not. I don't want to be in a desert. I don't want to have to deal with like a
Yep.
scorpion or like
Yep.
the clear ones that are so poisonous that you don't know are around that will jump on you, or a jumping spider. Like,
Yeah, I remember I went to Brazil and I was reading up kind of things and they said of course, me being me, I went and I did research on poisonous things and things to avoid. And Brazil has a banana spider that is one of the deadliest spiders. So I'm like, oh, great. So
yeah,
then in Brazil, anywhere I'm like, okay, if I don't see where I'm going, I'm not going. So that was my experience in Brazil.
not going in the bush. Is it like the banana? Like, do they call it banana because it's yellow? Like,
I
it's a
think so.
yellow? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, once I saw it, I really didn't want to see anything more, so I just, stopped scrolling.
You're like,
But
this is
yeah,
clear in my mind. Yeah. I'm,
when we went to Sedona and everybody was looking at the sights and they were looking at the mountains and they thought it was so pretty, I was the guy looking under and I was making sure that we don't step on any scorpions or any snakes. So I'm not even sure I enjoyed the sights because my mind was elsewhere at the moment.
was there. I mean, listen, Mother Nature was pulling you in that way. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Moving off of our fears and embarrassments. What is life of an actor, right? So many people who are watching this who are not in the acting biz are wondering, this must be cool. This is all, red carpets, being in all of these fantastic shows. You must make a ton of dough. This is an awesome life. let's tell them the good, the bad, and the ugly of the actual reality of being an actress.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I'm sorry to break your bubble, but it ain't that glamorous. Let me tell you. And there are like you get those treat moments where like you do get to do a red carpet and go to an award show and have a premiere, and I feel like that's literally the smallest Mendocino cherry on top of all of like the gooey, melty, cloudy shit. I don't. It's tough. Like it ain't for the faint at heart, and I feel like I had to learn really early on, and I'm still like working on myself and developing that like you got to wear Teflon because like there is no rhyme or reason in this industry. There's no clear trajectory. you know it's constant. It's like 98% rejection, and it's like rejection based on things that like you can't even control.
Mhm.
um and you don't really make that much dough for what you work, and especially starting out. Like, I mean, one, trying to get an agent's the most grueling process, and you need one. And I feel like there aren't many resources out there that even help you or talk you through on how to do that. So figuring that out for yourself in itself is like, the most frustrating thing. And then you get that agent and then you go out for auditions and like you never hear back. You put hours of work into something and you'll never get any feedback unless you're like kind of in a class. You never know how to improve. Um, you know, Sometimes you don't get jobs for years. And so then you're working like five other jobs, and you have to work five other jobs because they all have to be part time and semi flex so that you can make it to these auditions. And if you ever get work, you have to be able to like switch shifts to get onto set. So that in itself is a doozy. And then your self esteem just plops because again you're not getting any sort of acknowledgement for the work you're doing, so then you feel like shit all the time, and then you look in the mirror. I should be saying I should really, this is another thing, clearly I'm projecting, like, hello, acting 101 over here. Like, thank you so much. And I look in the mirror and I'm like, what the fuck? And then you get a job, and then you're on cloud nine, and then you don't get another job for another year. So it's interesting. Like, I feel like it's always like this, and I've learned that like it's all about the longevity, and you have to really figure out, and I think this is through trial and error and really going through the process of like creating a healthy
Mhm.
process for yourself to be in and out of it. But like it's not as glamorous as people think. And then when you're at work, like you're working like 12, 14, 16 hours a day, and that's the part that's wonderful because I love doing the work, but you know, it's not glam. Like you need to know your 12 pages of dialogue. It has to be word perfect. You have to do it over and over. It's raining most of the time. You're cold AF. Um, but the end result is always worth it. But it's interesting. It's so funny when people say that must be like so fun, and it is fun, or it must be so glam. But yeah,
It ain't.
I love my job. I sound like such a Debbie Downer, but
No,
like I feel like, mhm.
this is reality, right? Because we speak with people from all sorts of walks of life, and
Yeah,
acting has a lot of misconceptions about it.
yeah,
And most of the actors that I talk to, working actors, are glad, and they're in the tiny minority to actually be working actors. We're not talking Brad Pitt. We're not
yeah,
talking, multi-millionaires. We're talking working actors who don't have other jobs and who are
yeah,
just actors,
yeah.
and they feel like they have achieved something that it has a minuscule, probability of success. And they're right. So that's what acting is more like than anything.
Yeah, it's true. And it's like when you get to that moment, I think the biggest part is like learning how to like sit in that and be really proud of yourself. Because when you are, and that's the other thing, it's like when you're a working actor, you're still hustling behind the scenes because when you are a local working actor, you still like when you're on a show, you're still coming home and like putting auditions on tape for the next job. You're
Yep.
still doing all those commercials. You're still making sure that you have like a paycheck to come home to because nothing's ever guaranteed, right? And so, and you're in that percentile where that back end work is still happening. And
Mhm.
so it's tough. And like, and what I found was so tough, and I had to learn through experience, is like, to be a working actor, you kind of got to put that first sometimes. You don't really get to choose when to go on vacation. You can't go to family weddings. You know, and I feel like that's what people don't realize is like there's so many people who are giving up life to do this. You can't, like you can't make plans with your friends. You're always skipping out because like stuff's coming up last minute because it's all always last minute. So you get it. And yet it's so wonderful because this is all we want to do. So, but there are so many things that like at a certain point in time you have to take a step back and be like, where am I at right now? What do I want to prioritize? And yeah, it
So
gets
work,
lonely.
it absolutely it does.
Yeah.
And let's actually dive into that because from the relationship perspective, it's another industry that's very, very different. So what have you seen in your career? How does it affect your ability to have a relationship with somebody and a steady relationship? And I'm not even talking about the stupid stuff of, oh my God, she's kissing someone on screen. How do I deal with that? I'm talking about just, relationship and longevity.
Yeah.
What have you found that works and doesn't work?
You know, I think I so it wasn't until my last relationship ended with my partner where I felt like I truly had to take a step back and really, really kind of like take a look at myself and see and realize and recognize that like if I want a relationship to work, I gotta make the time. Like you can't like so in my previous relationship, I wanted this. Like this is the dream to be a working actor. And all I wanted to do was work, and that always came first. And even though my partner supported me and without him I wouldn't be where I am today. So I have to say that. And like luckily we're such great friends now, but it didn't work because I wasn't able to take myself out of the box and see how I was such a detriment to the relationship because all I was doing was gunning for this dream. And when you do that, you become so tunnel visioned in something. And then so many, whether it's friendships or like a romantic relationships or familiar relationships, they all really suffer. One, because I feel like if you're not in the industry, people don't really understand what it takes to do it. And then two, because you're gunning so hard for something, you don't realize the pain that you're causing on people because you're not taking the time to work on those things. So for me, it wasn't until that ended that I realized like what am I doing? I was really, and in that I realized that I was like a detriment to myself because I wasn't fulfilled outside of this industry. And like we're storytellers. And so in order to be the best storyteller, you still have to live and you still have to experience life. Otherwise it's stale. And you can't bring an authentic energy to someone. And so it wasn't until then that I'm like, no, Adila, this is still part of the process. I have to like not gun for this rose colored dream that's not real, work and put time into my relationships, not feel guilty about it, but realize that it's actually going to elevate me and support my work. But like I really had to like look inside myself because as actors, like we just think you gotta just go, you gotta just gun, but really you're just fucking yourself emotionally, spiritually. And it was until that where I had to be like, no, I gotta put that time in. I gotta stop being like a little narcissist and having the world revolve around me when I was able to have healthy relationships with people in my life. And then I realized once I did that, it's a lot of deep, dark, fucking shitty work, then doors start opening.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
you know.
because and the it's an interesting thing, and I think the life of an actor is a very interesting thing to go through
Mhm.
because John Benson, who's awesome, was on the show, and he was saying, listen, in my most busy year in terms of working, I'm working maybe 100 days a year, and all the other time I'm not working. So the idea or the way that actors perceive this is, oh my God, I need to find more work. Where in reality, the way that we should be approaching it is, I am working and now I have a lot more time to have interests outside of it, to discover who it is that I am, to
Yeah.
have relationships, and to learn. The more you are uh, extracting yourself from the world of acting, the more well-rounded you become, and the better actor you're going to be. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
that that is something that should be taught in acting schools, because I think all of us are tunnel vision. And I was ready to give up on relationships and give up on other stuff and move and do all sorts of things. And then when I came out of that, I'm like, what the hell was I thinking?
Yeah.
That's not the most important thing in my life. Uh, you have to go through it. And I think people who don't live in this industry, who don't breathe these
Yeah.
problems, can't understand it, because it's different. You don't have the stability. You don't have your normal kind of day-to-day things that you're doing, and you're allocating specific time for things. So
Yeah.
everything gets turned inside out. And
Yeah.
I'm so glad you came to that realization, because it'll only make you a better person, a better actress, and a
Yeah.
better.
But a human, right? And you hit it on, like, you definitely put, like, point blank, were correct when you say you have to experience it for yourself, because so
Yeah,
many people can tell you that, right? But until you hit rock bottom
yeah,
and you come out of it, there's no way that you're going to know that, like, that's actually a thing. And you're right. Acting schools don't teach that. It's so funny, we learn all the tools we need in our toolbox and all these methods and ways to break down a script, but that's only half of it, because if we're a storyteller, you're exactly what you said, you got to flourish outside of that and know who you are
yeah.
as a person.
I think what should be done, and now I'm having this idea, maybe we will do this, is to have a specific acting counselors that help you in the different areas of your career, not from the work perspective, but from the life perspective.
Yeah.
So I know, lots of people in the acting industry seek, psychologists, and they work with them, which I'm sure fill that part. But I think somebody who understands the acting spectrum, somebody who can look from a side and say, dude, this is the blessing what you're going through right now, and this is how you get out of it.
Yeah.
That I think will help a lot more people stay on path and not quit acting to go to something else.
Absolutely. That, and you know what? I feel like that, and like teaching money management, because it's like you said,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah,
work like 110 days out of the year, you
yep,
get that lump sum of cash, and so many friends and actors I know, like, because we weren't taught how to do that, right? How to let that, like, how that you can sustain yourself on that for a year. And you see so many people go up and down with that, and it's heartbreaking, and it boggles my freaking mind as to why that's not taught. Like, that's how you sustain yourself. It's fucking crazy.
yeah. So
Yeah.
Adila, there you go. That's something else that you can be doing when you're not working.
Are we
Uh,
going to be starting some workshops? I think we'd be
I
dope.
think so. I think
Yeah.
so. We'll talk offline.
Yeah.
Um, Perfect. Let's do a few more things before we let you go.
Yeah.
And you're most welcome to come to the show anytime so we can continue the discussion. But we have to mention Nancy Drew, because this episode came out on March 10th. Everybody's excited about it and how things are. What, again, without being stereotypical, what is the most fun part of the show that you're taking out that is really affecting you as a person?
You know what? I gotta say, and I know this is gonna sound so cliche, but I don't care because it's legit.
Yeah.
Um, and I've been on a lot of shows where this does not happen, and you feel like absolute ass. But
Mhm.
the best thing about this show is, like, the Drew crew. Like, those guys, I don't even get it. They are so freaking wonderful. I've never been a part of a show, especially with a character arc like this, and I've been on a few with this type of arc where, like, the lead cast just welcomes you with open arms and is so inclusive and makes you feel like family. They are so talented. Like, I learned so much from them. They're all about the work, which I think is so wonderful. Because, like, let's be real, man. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. But you get on shows where that's not the case. And listen, like, everyone has their own way of doing this, but, like, they're just about the work. they're so gracious, they're so kind to everyone, and like there's like a magic between them, and they included myself and Praneet, and I think that's just been the most wonderful part. And especially coming out of this year, where like mental health and yeah, right? Like we've all been fucking through the ringer. Like it doesn't matter where on the spectrum you lie. So to be able to be welcomed with open arms with love was fucking insane. It just felt so good. And I think that's been like the biggest part of it all is being able to be on a set where people just like love each other genuinely and very simply. There's like no ulterior motive to things.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
I'm very happy to hear that.
yeah.
It's unfortunately a rarity in the
It's a
industry.
rarity. Isn't that
Yeah.
sad? Like,
Yeah, the one thing that they do teach you in all of the workshops that we're taking is that you're a co-star, go sit in your corner. Or you're a guest star, don't
yeah,
go talking to regulars. You're there, right?
yeah,
If they want to come to you, they'll come to you. Yeah, that's what we're being taught.
that's what
It's
we're being
so
taught.
yeah,
And I
it's
know it's
rare.
disheartening too. Like we talk about how much you like we work and hustle to get to set because the set is like literally the cake, right? It's the dessert, and then
Yep,
and then you get told you can't even eat it.
I know. Yeah. No pictures, no talking, no, autographs. Are you kidding? You want to
Yeah,
get bounced and never work with the, same producers again? Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's
It's wild.
it's
It's so wild. Things people don't know, right? Yeah,
it's weird.
yeah.
Uh, few more things, kind of our lightning round.
Yes.
So, if you were to pick three words that define you, what would those words be?
Ooh, like me, Adila? Oh, oh shit. Oh, what?
Potty
Potty mouth.
mouth, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, three words that define me. Okay, I would say, well, like, okay, potty mouth. We'll say that's one.
Yeah.
Um, like weird as fuck. I'm weird. I don't know. Curious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and curious, like curious. I love knowing things. I love to learn. Like yeah, I love learning things.
Yeah.
Consummate learner, weird, emotional leader. That's so many.
It's okay. Yeah, it's good. Know thyself, right? And
Know
that's.
thyself.
Um, is there a quote that you love that you kind of keep referencing all the time?
You know what? I feel like I go through phases, like as we all probably do, where like you like latch on to something and it totally helps, or like songs, like
Yeah.
music that you replay. But this one has gotten me through 2020 and is getting me through 2021.
Yeah.
This too shall pass.
Yeah.
Right now. I used to work for a casting director, and her associate would say it all the time when things would just shit would hit the fan. And she would always just be like, this too shall pass. And it always does. And I feel like I have been like cycling that on repeat in my head this whole year and all of last year. Yeah, and I don't think I'll ever stop. But like when I have just anxiety ridden days, I say that to myself. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one that came up right away.
Yeah, it's very important. I totally agree. I keep reminding myself. For me, I say this is just temporary, and it helps me, and it
Yeah,
certainly helped me before. So same
yeah,
idea.
same idea.
Just
It's funny how that it like wires it right in a certain way. Yeah,
and thank God it does because we especially actors with our sensitivity and empathy and ability to really kind of dive into our own psyche and those around us. That is a wonderful highway, but that also is a way to spiral out of control very quickly. So,
you are so right. We feel everything. We are sensitive humans.
you know,
Put on a
which
front. We put on a front, a big one. But
which I don't you find this so ironic
yeah,
that we as artists want to be loved and accepted and understood, where we're in the industry that does the opposite to us on a daily basis, and
yeah.
we still do it. What the hell?
I know. It's like we love self torture.
Yeah, I think so.
I know. It's because we're so like we want to be so vulnerable at all times. We're always vulnerable that like I feel that yeah, it's you're right. I don't know. What's the rhyme or reason? Like someone has to come on and explain this to us. You got
I
to
think
get
so.
someone who will
So the workshop that we're going to be doing will invite somebody who maybe is
perfect.
able to shed some light on it, a
Yeah,
psychologist.
yeah, exact, a professional.
Yeah, we need people. We
We need
need help.
help. Yeah.
Last thing, is there, and I know you're very open on social media, but is
Mhm.
there anything that people do not know about you that you'd like to share?
Ooh, that they do not know. Okay, well, this is really basic, but
Okay.
I hate pink and red together. Like, I
Okay.
don't understand that palette. It blows my mind. It's not aesthetically pleasing. I don't know. It's like my
So
pet peeve.
so separately is okay, but not together.
Not together. Isn't that
Okay.
weird? Like I get like how sometimes when someone says something to you, you're like
Yeah.
the hairs on your arm stand up or you get like anxiety all of a sudden. If I
Yeah.
see someone wearing pink and red or if I see that together, I get like anxiety. So okay, clearly there's some sort of trauma that happened that I know now. I know that I have to deal with.
Yep.
But I don't like
Interesting.
it.
Interesting.
I
The certified life coach in me, which I am, really wants to dive into that and figure
yeah.
out what it is. Is it this life? Is it past life? Is it energetic? Is it all sorts of, okay, never mind.
No,
We're
you know
gonna,
what? That's wild. It probably is all those things.
I think so too, because that's why I said separately or together. Anyway,
Yeah.
to be continued. So thank you, Adila. Thank you so much for jumping on. I really appreciate it. Um, you're cool. You are super, and you should always think of yourself that way. And you're always welcome back.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for having me. This was amazing. And you are super as well.
Thank
So
you.
thank you for holding this space for us actors and letting us kind of speak our truth for a little bit of time. Like this is awesome. So thank you.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate it. And thanks to everybody for tuning in into another episode of Let's Dive In. We know you love things and you're curious just as much as we are, so we're happy to do this for you. Thank you.